I'm frustrated, and I think there are so many levels to this. But let's just put it where it is. This was let's go back to what we thought this season would be. With the offense and the new offensive coordinator who went to John Carroll, by the way. And the new pass game coordinator who went to John Carroll, by the way. And of course, the director of pro scouting and all the the players that they were bringing in. By the way, he went to John Carroll and the
pretty
offense,
good school, huh?
And the general manager making all these decisions. Who, by the way, went to John Carroll University. You were wasting it. Let's go back to what we thought this team would be. It's a waste with this generational defense.
Speculation, right?
With this generational defense, 4 turnovers, Reggie. 3 turnover margin, over the Seattle Seahawks. You scored a touchdown defensively. You stopped everything they were doing.
That was the touchdown that you scored.
That was the only touchdown you scored. The word of the day is waste. You're wasting this season because of decisions made by the institution. That institution's name is Nick Caserio. By the way, went to John Carroll University and Patriots.
Tell me how you really
in general,
feel.
Right?
Do you want to get into that portion of this?
No.
Honestly, no.
Yeah, we might as well get into it now, man. That's your main takeaway, I can tell.
All right, you're in the loop.
No, we can go talk about the takeaways of the game. We'll do that later. Maybe.
Let's talk about Nick Caserio
Get
right
involved
now.
with the program, 713-572.
I told you I was hot. Sorry. I told you I was hot.
It just came spewing out of you.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, how do we describe this game?
This brother over here naming scouts.
And I'll set it up. he's gone into the masthead of what is.
Director of pro scouting. You know how you find guys like Cam Robinson and Trent Brown and Christian Kirk and Laken Tomlinson and just go down the list. That's the director of pro scouting who went to John Carroll University, by the way, and has a Patriots background. Not just a scout, the director of pro scouting.
You really this is heavy on your heart.
Because you're telling me
Nick Caserio got to go.
No, I'm telling you Nick Caserio is the problem. All right? Nick Caserio is the one. If you have to go down to one thing, he's the problem. Because you're telling me with a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, by all accounts a franchise quarterback, a defense that was playing good in D'Amico's first year, was playing very good and became very, very good last year. You're telling me for a team like that in the NFL that has solid ownership and everything else, that when you're making changes on the offense, you need a new offensive line coach, right? Well, let's get the guy that was an assistant, who was a Patriots guy, by the way. Let's get the guy who was an assistant to the guy we fired, all right? Let's get him. You got to get an offensive coordinator. Hey, you know what? Nick Caserio was a student assistant at John Carroll University. He was a student assistant at John Carroll University, and he coached at New England. Let's name that guy. Yeah, but he's never called a play in his life. That's all right. That's cool. Let's do that. Oh, we need some veterans to bring in. We lost Diggs. We need some help on the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil. Let's ask our director of pro scouting about some of these guys we can bring in. Hey, how do you like the offensive line? They're scrappy. Come on, man. Nick Caserio is the problem. He's the problem.
You know what's sick? I mean, you're not wrong. Like, there's clearly institutional issues that showed up in a big way in this game, right? Nick Caserio is the top of the institution. That's how these things roll, right? Like, the whole the buck stops here. That absolutely is there. He ain't the only one. Like, there was all the way around. Yesterday, we called this the test of the season.
Yeah.
And when it came down to the test of the season, first and foremost, very bad performance. But it wasn't just not knowing the material. They also don't have test-taking skills, right? Like, they didn't even come with the, when I don't know, I answer C. Yeah. Or, well, let me mark off some of the answers off of the test that I know are wrong, right? And the reason I can say that, again, 713-572-4610, a way to get involved with the program. Let us know your frustrations, as apparently that's how we're just going to do this. The way that I know that they don't even have the test-taking skills that were necessary in this very clear fail of the test. Why are you going back to things that we know don't work?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and you.
Why? Are we going back to things that don't work?
Yeah.
So, because I'm just frustration. What are your frustrations? 713-572-4610. Because I mean, look, there's a ton of frustrations in Texans land. So let's just kind of have a therapy session of sorts and get it all out on the table. And that's what I think this 4 hours will be to some degree. The first thing that was, hey man, why in the actual bleep?
Yeah.
Is there a left guard rotation series to series?
Lakin Tomlinson.
It literally was Lakin Tomlinson, who wears 75, gets the odd numbered series. Juice Scruggs, who wears 70, gets the even number series.
I hope that's true.
I know it's true.
I hope that's true.
I know it's true because I was watching it as the first.
That would be awesome.
I was watching
Odds and
it.
evens.
No.
6-7. We can do the 6-7 thing.
Quite literally.
6-7.
Yeah.
Quite literally, I was watching it as it was happening in the first few series, and then I was using it as my backdrop when I was like, "Wait, which series is
That's
this?"
so awesome
Oh
that
yeah,
that's
no, Juice
true.
Scruggs is in there. Boom, there he is.
That's so awesome.
How in the actual hell?
Did Juice not win the job?
Apparently not.
Man.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
But wait, there's more. You know, you were talking about they ran out of plays, right? What was their passing game for a whole series there? Throw it deep this way. Throw it deep that way. Cross your fingers. Throw it deep this way. If only we had, a pass game coordinator. Oh, yeah, they hired Jerry Saplinski this year. He's a John Carroll guy, by the way, and a Patriots guy. He's got the double whammy working. How about this? Jalen Noel, we need to get him some more touches.
I was going to get there because
But
I'm not
let's
even.
start Braxton Berrios, who was drafted by the Patriots, by the way, and seems to be, I don't know, a New England type guy. I'll put it that way. A New England type guy. Let's start him. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and let him return punts, too.
Yeah,
What the hell is going on?
Again, going to like the changes that they've gone back to, right, in this game. Before I even move off of the offense, you have Tomlinson in. It was very clear that they were just going to run behind him. In fact, your inability to pick up a fourth down there later in the game, you run two plays immediately behind Lakin Tomlinson where you get absolutely no push. In fact, speaking of things that don't work, they started off early in this game running where? Right into the teeth of that defensive line, right in the middle, and they got no push. How about going back in this way when it comes to things that don't work? All of a sudden, Braxton Berrios the returner again?
He's a New England type guy.
Right.
I don't know. It just strikes me that way.
Maybe that was his job before he got hurt.
Oh, yeah, he was drafted by New England.
He's been healthy and active.
Yeah.
Right, you started putting Jalen Noel in the game, giving him some opportunity, and then all of a sudden, no, man, Jalen Noel don't get no burn. Like, how does that work?
So back to the first point, why I'm mentioning these things, because it is an institutional problem, and the institution is Nick Caserio. You're telling me of all the resumes and recommendations that you received to fix this offense, Reggie. We got to fix this offense. We got a franchise quarterback. We got a hell of a defense. We got to fix this offense. You're telling me of all the stacks and stacks of resumes and recommendations that you got. John Carroll, Patriots. Berrios, Cam Robinson, Trent Brown, Lakin Tomlinson. You're telling me that they just happen to be the best options?
Hey, it worked in New England.
Yeah. You're telling me that this was just a coinky dink? That D'Amico Ryans, I hired him? You're telling me D'Amico Ryans, tell me.
I mean, he wants to take the heat for it, and so he can get the heat. The whole organization gets the heat for this, though, because I mean, if you hire Nick Caserio, whether it's Caserio's input, whether it's D'Amico Ryans' hire, it's clear that he's out of his depth. I think we can get into that in a deeper level. But if you're going to do that, right, and if you know that you want to play complementary football, you want to be able to run the football, you got to have talent, man. You got to be able to make get push on the offensive line. And admittedly, this is one of the tougher teams to go up and try and get push on. But you've either got to know that, know your personnel and operate accordingly, or you've got to know that if you're going to be this stubborn in the way that you want to handle this, and on the front end, make sure that your talent is capable of handling this. And in fact, Nick Caserio chuckled when the implication that just maybe they did not acquire a good enough talent, or they did not go about assembling this offensive line in the right way in the offseason. And the point has been proven that unless you're playing against bad teams who are beaten, bruised, or just not competent, this offensive line is not sufficient for what you're trying to do.
Well, let's go through all of them. Let's go through the three biggest issues let's just talk about last night's game and where the the real issues stem from. Absolutely horrifically bad, embarrassing play calling. That was about as bad a called game offensively as you have ever seen, as I have ever seen. That was we can go into the details, and we will, with the 4 downs and the runs and the throwing the ball down deep, and hey, Dalton Schultz has caught a couple. Let's just keep throwing it to him. Which, by the way, that worked. But absolutely embarrassing play calling. Who's the offensive coordinator? Nick Caserio. John Carroll guy, by the way, also has some New England ties. Horrible offensive line. Can we agree on that? It's a horrible offensive line.
I think we got the word on the offensive line.
You know what one of the funny things is, though, statistically speaking, when you look at this week 7 and pressure on, now, of course, C.J. Stroud ended up throwing or dropping back 49 times in this game, which never is what you want to do. I mean, regardless in this modern NFL. He was pressured in the 20s.
Yeah.
When he wasn't near the most highly pressured, but the types of pressures were grueling. The types of pressures absolutely blew up plays, and C.J. Stroud's just happy feet and seemingly his clock was just way early. All of those things put you in a place where you couldn't execute football.
Yeah. So absolutely embarrassing play calling. Nick Caserio, that points to Nick Caserio. Horrible offensive line. Cole Popovich, Patriots guy, assistant. That points to Nick Caserio. Now let's talk about the perplexing personnel decisions that we've talked about here, whether it's Berrios or Cam Robinson or Lake and Tom or whomever. That points directly to Nick Caserio. I mean, this is he's blinded by, I don't know if it's loyalty, professional nepotism, whatever it is. Not solely a Nick Caserio and Cole Popovich and Lake and Tomlinson, and you go down the list, Jerry Saplinski, and they are symptoms of the bigger problem. The bigger problem is what Nick Caserio did to make this offense and fix this offense, which clearly he has not.
Yeah, I mean, this is a patent failure. You went from a team in 2023 that had, that jumped out early, jumped out well beyond, I think, expectations early on for this team, and you go, oh, there's something here. 2024, you go and you get aggressive. You go and acquire free agents. You go and look at this team and say, hey, we're going to try and take that next step up. And in some ways you are, but obviously the offense clearly was not good enough. And this was a inflection point of a season. And this game was the inflection point of that inflection point. And the big takeaway from that was you made poor decisions. You didn't make enough of the good decisions that you did make. And ultimately, you were not on the same play. On that same field, those teams were not on the same level.
Yeah.
In many different ways. Obviously, you could talk about talent. I think discipline comes up. Let's talk about that at some point because, look, there's smoke that goes all the way around for this team. And then you got outcoached. And a lot of that comes back to the buck stopping at the general manager who has charge of the direction of this team. And DeMeco Ryans will get his as well because I think that there's questions to be asked about where DeMeco Ryans is as a game manager and as a coach. Because a lot of the things that we credit to coaches looked really, really poor.
They didn't look prepared. No. They looked like they were still on the bye week.
Figure they had 15 days. And then they put Daria Gumbawale back there for pass protection.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when I talked about the things that we know that don't work. Hey,
let's go back to week 1.
Dare third down back was back in action in this game.
The rotating guards. They had 15 days. You bring back Daria Gumbawale. You're still rotating guards. You have Braxton Berrios for God knows what reason. Drafted by the Patriots, by the way, and seems to be a New England type guy anyway. You had that. 15 days. Offense, same. Offensive line, same.
John, we got 4 hours. We can get back to that. If you want to get to the Caserio personnel thing also.
Yeah.
Hey, where was Nick Chubb after a while? And to be fair, I don't know if this was particularly the great game for his type of skill set. However, I think that points back to assuming that this organization knew that the Joe Mixon thing was going to go as it would, which honestly, it felt like they did. Nick Chubb, Woody Marks was basically what they put together for this running back room. And you see how Woody Marks was out there struggling by his lonesome to try and get this done. And there was not going to be enough support there for that to happen. There's a lot of frustration, rightfully so, with this Texas team. as they lose what was ostensibly a one-score game, but did not feel like that. And as far as tests go, that's definitely a fail, Bubba. Definitely a fail.